Good day, everyone. We're excited to start, and we thank you for joining us today. Please let me know if you are hearing me well, if everything is okay with the sound. Just put, I don't know, plus or minus, depending on your mood, on the chat window on the right. Okay, on the left. Great. Okay, this is our first webinar in English in 2014. It's very exciting. Our UTIC webinars are intended to give you more information about our speakers this year and get you ready for the conference and the topics that we will cover. Our guest for today is Rebecca Petras. She is a program director at Translators Without Borders. My name is Olga Fomenko. I am PR manager of the UTIC conference, and I will be interviewing Rebecca today. All of you are welcome to ask questions using the chat window you see on your left. Rebecca and I will keep an eye on it, not to miss any of your questions. But just before we continue, I would like to share with you the latest news about the UTIC conference that we have for today. UTIC is ready and proud to announce that our conference will be streaming live this year. It means that you can watch all the program of the conference, all the tracks live. You are able to choose the language of the broadcast, original or interpretation, participate in discussions, and send questions to speakers using an online form, everything without leaving the house. In addition, all online participants will get early access to all the video materials that UTIC 2014 are going to collect on the way, and a digital certificate of participation. If you'd like to use this option and register for virtual participation, please contact us at info@utic.eu. And for those of you who still want to attend in person and enjoy all the benefits of real communication, learning, registration is still open. I would like to remind you that group discounts are available, and also all members of ATA, GALA, and ELIA will also get discounts. We now have 210 people, an overall of 63 companies participating. Hurry up, register for the conference and workshops, and join us already in a couple of months. Now a little bit about the conference workshop. We now invite you to participate in a workshop, Sales for Non-Sales Professionals, that is going to be hosted by Anne-Marie Colliander-Lind, business consultant, CEO at Increase, and Director of Fundraising at Translators Without Borders. It is scheduled for Monday, the 19th of May. Another workshop, Turnkey Translator, How It's Done, will also take place on Monday, the 19th of May. It will be hosted by Irina Alexeyeva, Director of the St. Petersburg Higher School of Translation and Interpreting at the Herzen State Pedagogical University. And for those looking for upgrade Ketchum skills, Yuri Belik, Senior Technical Staff at T-Service, will host Basic SDL Trada Studio 2014 training, also on Monday, the 19th of May. You can check out the details of each training on our website that you can see on the bottom of the screen. And we have some more organizational updates. We will be providing a transfer from Boryspil Airport and Kiev Central Railway Station to and back from the hotel. If you are interested in this service, please contact us at info@utic.eu. Traditionally, on the Saturday evening, we'll be cruising aboard a luxurious Rosa Victoria ship along Dnipro, running through the heart of the city. Enjoy delicious meals, wonderful company, and fantastic hospitality. Meet and get to know your peers and colleagues in a relaxing atmosphere of a warm spring evening. Seats are still available, so don't miss it. register at info@utic.eu. And we would like to tell you that we are looking for volunteer interpreters. So if you are at the start of your career and need practice, or if you are working with English, Russian, and Ukrainian, if you're looking for opportunity to meet colleagues at the largest industry event in Ukraine, and work with seasoned professionals, and if you would simply like to support the conference, please don't hesitate to contact us at info@utic.eu. And we are very excited that UTIC 2014 supporters list is growing. We would like to take a minute to thank our platinum sponsor, Megatext, our gold sponsor, Logrus, and our silver sponsor, Aclead. And we would like to thank all the other organizations and companies that supported UTIC this year. We really appreciate it. Thank you. We still have some of the sponsorship spots available. UTIC is now looking for online streaming video sponsor, gala evening co-sponsor, sponsor of context exchange session, and sponsor of strawberry coffee break. So if you would like to know more about sponsorship opportunities, please contact us at sponsorship@utic.eu. And now we're getting back to our guest. Rebecca, let me just tell a little bit about you, and then we will proceed to the questions. Rebecca is an expert in corporate and brand strategic communications with 20 years of experience and an emphasis on the technology, language, and legal industries. In 2000, she founded Petras Associates, which served a wide range of clients, including the Globalization and Localization Association and companies from our industry and beyond. Prior to Petras Associates, she was a vice president of Ketchum, award-winning international public relations firm. I remind you that all of you are welcome to ask questions to Rebecca in the chat room on the left, and we will try to answer, and Rebecca will try to answer and catch up with them as it goes. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. Thank you very much for that introduction, and I hope everyone can hear me okay. Please let me know in the chat if you cannot hear me. And also, please let me know if you think I am talking too fast.
Okay. I think everything is okay. So we'll proceed with the questions. First thing I would like to ask you is, of course, about your career and how you got into the industry of translation.
Yes, sure. Thank you. My career has been focused in public relations and in marketing. It's been 20 years plus. Trying to think about how old I'm getting, but basically, I started out as a journalist, a writer in New York, and then really went into public relations, focusing on technology. And for many years, I spent a lot of time working with small technology companies, trying to tell the story, trying to tell their story in an interesting way. A lot of people in high tech, and this is not unlike the localization industry, a lot of people think, wow, this is the coolest thing in the world. I just have made that. I'm just so, this is amazing. Everybody's going to love it. And the that's not really the case. And so I spent a lot of time trying to work through what it was that what the story was, what really would appeal to the audience, and even who is the audience. And so it was a natural shift for me in 2007 when I shifted over pretty much completely to the localization and translation industry. Actually worked with Gala full time for 5 years, and we did a lot of marketing and PR, and also coaching smaller Gala members on their marketing and PR. in 2012, I did become program director of Translators Without Borders, and that is what I focus on full time right now. However, within that role, about 30% of my time is marketing.
I
That's my
see.
career.
Great. So you're helping people to tell their stories. It's very
Yeah,
exciting.
exactly. Exactly. That's what we do. I mean, and that's what anyone, whether they're in marketing or whether they're in operations or whether they are, starting a whole new company as an entrepreneur, you've got to know your story. And that's I mean, it's a lot of people try to say a lot of fancy things in marketing, and they try to make this formula, that formula. And the fact is, if you really know the story and if you're passionate about the story, you will be successful in marketing. And so it does come back to the story always.
Mhm. Okay, so the model of how to tell about somebody's story. This model, they have been evolving in the last 5, 7 years. How they have evolved during the time of your career, and what new stuff have emerged these last year or two.
Well, when you talk about the last 5 to 7 years, without question, the biggest difference is the ability to tell your story the way you want to tell it. So, if you were a large operation and you could afford advertising, and a substantial amount of advertising, you've always been in a situation where you could write your story, pay somebody to put it out there, either on radio or in a magazine or however, through advertising. Okay, but if you weren't very big, and I've always worked with small companies, you were relying on public relations where the story is told by a third person. And so they may not get the story the way you want them to get it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and that should still be in the mix. You should always try to be getting other, journalists or bloggers or, whomever to tell your story, because it is um, there's a huge advantage to there being what I call a third party endorsement, which is somebody else saying, "Hey, these guys are really good." So there's a real advantage to that. But that said, the opportunity now to tell your story the way you want it told is so vast, and that just was not the case before. The as we all know, I mean, we can all comment on any story, and we can all, participate in chats and give feedback and blah blah blah, on and on and on and on. We have all of these opportunities to have a voice, and in marketing and in telling your story, those opportunities now should really be used to their fullest if you are a small organization. Um, so my time in marketing shifted, and I think basically most people's time shifted so much from focusing on how can I get this journalist to tell this story to, you know, 80% of the time being, I'm going to tell my story the way I want to tell it. And so
Mhm.
that's a big, huge difference. When you talk about the last year, what has changed in the last year to 2 years, um, I think that there was 2 to 3 years ago such a push to get into Twitter, to get into, Facebook, etc., that, you had that sort of big bubble where everybody was doing it and like, oh my God, I got to be doing this, I got to be doing this, I got to be doing this. And that has settled down. Um, and I think that people are using it much smarter now. You should use those tools for sure, but you should use them in a smart way. And so that I think that's people are getting smarter about. They're not going away. They're there, and I think that there was a period where people didn't know if they would still be around. Those sort of social media tools, but they are there and they are still used, but they're being used much more smartly now. Please let me know if I'm talking too fast. I try really hard not to.
Okay, if anybody of the audience are having trouble, please go ahead and tell us in the chat. And we'll proceed to the next question, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have been managing PR and marketing for translation sellers, translation buyers, and even translation associations. What would be your piece of advice on what are the good entry points for companies that are, newcomers? What to read, whom to follow, what to post, what tools to use, etc.
Yeah. When you are starting out, the most important thing to do is to know it's to know what you're good at and to know what your story is. And one of the big mistakes that I see a lot of times in this industry is I can't tell you how many times I work with a localization, a small company, and they say, right, I really like how this guy does it. I want to do it like he does it. And or they show me this website and they're like, oh, that I want my website to be just like theirs. Well, that's not the way to go about it. So when you say, who should you follow, there are people to follow, and I will go over that, but don't go following, don't go taking on the story as someone else is telling it. Make sure before you start to really sort of fine tune and learn that you know how you're coming about, how you're approaching localization, how you're approaching your clients, so that when you do see something you like, you apply it to what you already know about yourself rather than taking on their identity, because that's not a good way to do it. And then that's very difficult in the localization industry because it's so crowded and the thing that you are selling is just not that different than what somebody else is selling. So it's really, really easy to take on their identity, and it's important not to. It's important to to be selling yourself. Now that said, I think that the best to learn, there are so many great opportunities now to learn, that I think have grown tremendously, especially in marketing in the localization industry in the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. Really, there wasn't a lot in marketing before then. And there were some great people who were talking about sales, but there weren't a lot of people talking about marketing. So I'm really glad that's growing. So there's some really good webinars. Gala puts out great webinars. I highly recommend them. Yes, I was involved with them for 5 years, so I have maybe a bit of a bias, but I am not involved with them at all anymore, at all. And I do think that they're a great learning tool. Elia is a good place to go. They don't have a lot outside of their conference, but they really do focus on small companies. Excuse me, sorry. And then this kind of opportunity, this kind of online webinar, interactive, these are the best places to be. Now, there are some other places as well. The Facebook certainly has some great group. If you search for translation, you'll see some good groups in Facebook that will give you good ideas. There is a group also called Attracting Publicity. It's a closed group, but I think they take people in if you want to be invited. And I looked at it earlier today, and they have about 120 people in there. So it's a fantastic place because it's all focused on small companies getting attention. And that's two ELIA members put that group together, and I would really recommend it. And then, I mean, I use Twitter for all of my research. I love to use Twitter to see what other people are doing, and I think that if you are really well versed in Twitter, you can use it that way. I get a lot of my ideas. My work has shifted to nonprofit, and so I'm following more nonprofit folks. But I used to always follow the translation and localization very carefully and would get ideas from that as well. Those are the places I would go.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, now let's talk about a little bit more measurement kind of stuff. Return on investment and measuring performance and effectiveness of PR and marketing activities. Okay, let's talk about this. It has been a toughie for a while. And what are the findings that you know about? What are the best practices in this field? What key indicators would you recommend for companies?
I mean, what measurement has been an issue since the day I started doing public relations in, like, I don't know, 1994 or something. And so it is without question difficult to measure. That said, it is easier to measure now than it used to be. And again, that's because you are more in charge of what the story is. And so there's so many tools out there for getting a message out or for sending out an email, and all of those tools have measurement as part of them. Picking a measurement and sticking with it so that you have a benchmark, and then using that benchmark to see how various types of communications work is a really smart way to do it. So, for instance, we use a tool, it's called vertical response. And we use this tool to send out emails. I've used it for many, many years, actually. It's become much more sophisticated, more refined in terms of its measurement. And I can very clearly see, who opens an email. I mean, how many people open the email, whether they click through to anything, how long they're there. I can see all kinds of really good measurements when I send something out. Looking at one email unto itself is not really the point. It's really to look at sort of a group of them, or a benchmark. You have a benchmark, and then measure them against what that benchmark is, so that you know the direction that you want to go. And so if you if you send something out that's about a new service that you have, you want to know how to send it out in a way that's interesting to people. And if you try one way, it might, your measurement might be really low. You try another way, it'll be higher. The other thing about that is if you're trying different audiences. So one thing I haven't really talked about, but is so important, is of course knowing your audience. So if you send something out, a new service, and it's something that might be attractive to the medical field, translation in the medical field, if you see a lot of folks opening it in who are in medical device, for example, then you know that gives you that strong evidence that, oh, I should do more in medical device. So you should use it as much as a tool to improve your marketing, as and use it more in that way than in a way of this isn't going well, or marketing's not worth it. It really should be to improve the marketing, so that you are each time having a stronger footprint with whatever you do. I really use measurement as a refinement tool, is what I'm trying to say.
But okay, you're talking about like a mailing agent, right? But what if we're talking about blogs and social media posts?
Yeah,
That
sure.
kind of thing?
Same. Sure. Blogs have the exact same. I mean, if you have a blog in WordPress, you can see all those measurement tools. WordPress is great for that. Tumblr doesn't do it quite as well, but there are a number of measurement tools that you can use. I mean, Google is great for measurement. Facebook really has strong measurement now. We use Facebook measurement a lot at TWB. We also used to use it at Gala, just to again, to see how much a particular item has been looked at, to see how whether followers are continuing to increase, whether there was a reason why followers increased. For instance, we always would see a big uptick during the conference. So Facebook has lots of great measurement. And again, using them to inform yourself on what you should do and what you shouldn't do in the future.
And is there any tool to combine all of those?
I do not use a tool to combine them all.
Okay.
I think there are tools to combine them all. However, that one tool never does as good a job as the various ones. So I mean, like, I prefer, personally, I prefer to look at the WordPress, for instance, for our newsletter. I like to look at the WordPress statistics, and I find them very, very important. Whereas I'm not going to get that. I'm going to get a much not as deep a view if I use a tool that combines WordPress with Facebook or with Vertical Response, which is our email marketing tool.
I see. Okay.
Google Analytics does give you a fairly decent overview of things, if you're willing to invest in Google Analytics.
Yes. Okay, now a little bit into selling. There are these terms, cross-selling and upselling. So could you tell a little bit more about those and if they are applicable in our industry?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're not just applicable, they're critical in this industry, because we all know that this is an industry, as I said before, where if you look at the bullet list of things that you're selling next to the bullet list of another person, another small agency doing the same languages is selling, it's not that different. So the relationship, the partnership you have with your client becomes critically important, and so upselling and cross-selling is everything. I mean, both of those terms refer to the ability to enhance or to sell further in an environment where you already are a known quantity. So if you are selling in and you are working with, let's say, the legal department at an organization, then you want to cross-sell to the marketing department, is an example. Or you might be working in the marketing department, you want to cross-sell into the product area. So you want to always be trying to build those relationships within where you are well considered. You really, really invest a lot of time. I mean, it's as important, it's more important than investing time in other things. So really, really investing the time in the client and knowing the client and letting them know what else you can do. I'm going to make an assumption here that we have some SLVs on the call, and certainly anywhere if you're selling to an MLV, there are lots of opportunities for upselling and cross-selling. You can, if you're selling in one particular language pair, what other service do you have that makes their life easier? MLVs are always looking for that kind of help. So you need to always think, okay, what's the other way? How can I make their lives easier, and thereby also increasing our footprint with that organization? So really, in marketing and its base should really be focused on that organic growth more than anything else. And then if you get your organic growth correct, the rest of it is, that growth will be so important that the growth with new companies and new industries will be sort of icing on the cake, is what we say in the US.
I see. Okay. Thank you. And how many you represent now, right now? Translations Without Borders, Translators Without Borders, right? So
Yes.
you're a non-governmental organization that is
right.
actually looking for help of volunteers to do all kinds of translation for people around the world, right? How many
That's right.
how many companies from Ukraine, Russia, Poland, that region, our region,
Yeah,
support Translators Without Borders? And how can they benefit? How can they tell their story through uh, your organization?
yes, thank you. Well, I was trying to get a final number before the call, and I don't have a final number. I will say that we've had some support from Russia and some from Ukraine. Um, we've had a substantial amount of support from Poland.
Mm-hmm.
We but we have in fact, at this particular moment, we have a company in Poland that sponsors a charity bike ride for us, and they ride their bikes through. Actually, they're currently riding their bikes through 6 countries to raise money for training translators in Africa. So um, that is a way that they help us tremendously, and that is really super important to us. Um, but it's also a way for them to tell their story. So so what we encourage companies to do that work with us is, hey, listen, you are supporting the industry charity. Okay, so you are showing that you believe that translation is important and it should be strategic and it should be at the table when people are creating, international plans, or when they're creating when they're going into a new market. It shouldn't be an afterthought. That is what we talk about all the time at TWB, and we encourage the companies that work with us to tell that story themselves and to say, hey, we support TWB because this is what we believe, and making that connection. And anytime you support something that is within your industry, whether it's us or whether it's another, maybe it's something local in your city that has to do with translation,
Mm-hmm.
um, you are you should make that connection. I mean, certainly people do support TWB for altruistic reasons because they just think it's the right thing to do. But there should there is always a marketing component to it. And to just support us and not um, connect your story to it is it's not what I would do. I would always connect the story.
Mm-hmm.
So this group in Poland, I mean, it's called Text Partners, and they have done such a phenomenal job of connecting their story and connecting their personalities and telling their story through raising money for TWB. And there's so many creative ways you can do it. And so that's just one story of how some people um, do that. We have other companies that do other things. We like Moravia always does a big video at Christmas that anytime somebody views it, they give money to us. They also are a sponsor. SDL does a lot of
Yeah, they
extra
are
things
also
as
our
well.
sponsor.
Yes, they're very good that way. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and we have simple ways also that that you can connect if you are involved with us. For instance, um, we give all of our sponsors a logo. They put that on their website. They can put that in their emails. They can send an email out and say, hey, we believe in this. This is why we support them. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many ways. If I had like 3 extra people, I would be able to tell sponsors more how to work with us, but we actually have to rely on them a lot to sort of come up with those ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
I see. Thank you. And okay, at the UTIC, you're going to talk about some successful tactics that you at TWB are using, and also how can these tactics, same tactics, help local companies grow, develop, enter new markets, and win clients. So tell a little bit more on that.
Well, as I mentioned before, the social media part of marketing and PR now is so critical, and I think that it is critical from a standpoint of TWB as a nonprofit, but also for a small company to get noticed. What I really do not advocate is just getting on social media and just selling directly through social media. That never works, and it never has worked. Um, but engaging, using it as an engagement tool so people know who you are, is very, very useful. It's also useful to cross market. So whenever you, so I will give you an example. We have we have to do a blog every month. We have a grantor who gives us funds for our crisis relief program, and we have to give them a blog every month to put on their website. And that's part of the agreement of the funding.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that. So we have to spend a good amount of time, write a good blog. It's got to be good quality. It's got some photos, etc. And we put that on the blog. Well, we then take bits and pieces of that and we push it out every way we possibly can. We get it out
Mm-hmm.
to our on our blog. We get it out on Twitter, on Facebook. We get it out on our newsletter. We include it in our email marketing. We have a group of advisors, and we even encourage them to send it out. So so we take that one thing that we've done and we just shoot it out as much as we can. And I really, really encourage that because it's so much better to do that than to reinvent or to rewrite or to always be creating something new. The other thing I would encourage with small companies is think about what you're good at or think about what someone on your staff is good at doing and use that as a way to get noticed. So a lot of folks have gone toward video and photography as a means to get their to, to get more notice. So they'll do like um, a video and figure out ways to get it out. I mean, I don't know why more people don't do the gala video series that they do at their conference because I mean it's such an easy way to get noticed. Um, but the ones that do it are ones that feel like there's someone on their staff who is like interested in video or can do video well. So I would sort of look around your team and say, who they don't have to be a marketing person. They don't have to even be good at marketing, but they may have a skill, whether it's desktop publishing or photography or video or just writing. Like maybe they're really awesome, great writer who can tell the story in a fun way, in a funny way. Maybe they're very humorous.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of try to use the different people, like because that will give that personality. So for instance, these bike riders in Poland, they looked around the office just to see what they were good at doing. And what they're good at doing is riding bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And they also are really good at printing because they have their own printing facility. So that's what they do, and that's how they've gotten noticed. Whereas others, like eDisc in Spain, they're really good at video, so they do video. So I think that's important when you're small to try to figure out that little thing that you're good way of telling your story.
Okay. So you're going to be talking more about that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think it's exciting. We are very excited to have you as our speaker. Thank you very much for the interview. If anybody has any questions, you are absolutely welcome to write to us. Rebecca, would you like to say something else, to add something?
Um, well, just that I'm thrilled to be the part of UTIC and to spread the message of marketing and PR and TWB. So I really appreciate having the chance to to do the webinar and to talk about these things. I'm also happy to talk to people about either just straight marketing and how to start a PR program or a marketing program, and or about Translators Without Borders.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining us today and for answering the questions. You can contact Rebecca using Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, right? Yes, excellent. And also you can go ahead and use our Facebook group if you would like to continue the conversation or start a conversation or ask questions to Rebecca. And I would like to remind you once again that registration for UTIC is open. Please visit our website for more information. Contact us if you have any questions, and we are looking forward to see you at UTIC 2014 in May. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.